Hey everybody, and welcome to the Business Growth and Entrepreneur Podcast. And as always, I am your host, Bill, the company's expert. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to do a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the very latest trends in business, apparently, because even though it's been around forever and ever, several decades, for some reason, people are talking about this more and more online. If you go to LinkedIn or you go to any other online business-related platform or social networking platform, for some reason, everybody seems to be talking about this. And quite frankly, I don't know why, because it's been around forever and it's a very basic tool. But if you've never heard of this, I don't blame you, because I once worked for a company that was quite successful, and I remember the owner of the company, when I spoke to him, he had never heard of this. I was in the middle of taking my MBA at the time, and so I was studying all about it, I suppose, at the time. But the owner of the company, who was very successful, had built up the company from nothing, had never heard of this. Now, for those of you who haven't heard of it, SWOT, it stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. And this is a tool that you can use for business strategy. So if you are talking about a small company that does one thing, you can use this as a tool. If you're talking about a business unit that's a part of a larger organization, you could use this also. But this is sort of the very beginning of business strategy. This is what it's used for. And as the name suggests, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, those are the four things you're going to be looking at. It allows you to look at your business operation from the inside, look at it internally, where you think about your strengths and you think about your weaknesses, okay? It also allows you to look at your business operation from an external perspective, when you look at it as part of the larger market or even the larger economy or even the larger regulatory environment. And you look at the opportunities and the threats, okay? So you're looking at your business both from the inside and from the outside, okay? You're looking at the things that are going well, that you might be able to exploit, and you're looking at the things that could be a weakness, something that it could be something that you would have to watch out for, okay, and try to compensate for in some way or ameliorate your situation in some way, okay? So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, it's interesting because although this is something that people have taught in business school for several decades, the bottom line is that this is the absolute first step in thinking about your business strategy. It's something that if you're trying to explain your business to some outside party, okay, perhaps they're investors, perhaps they're, a potential partner or something like that, and they know nothing of what your business is. They really don't understand too much about it. They don't really know what you're dealing with. This is a great tool to explain it to them in a very concrete way. What is your business situation? What are your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats? So let's get into this a little bit here. Now, I don't want to explain too much what it is, because actually there's not really much to explain. This is just a way of sort of thinking about what you can do, okay? The purpose of using a SWOT analysis is to be able to try and make a plan, okay? A plan, as we all know, is not just a to-do list of what you're going to do next. A plan is a goal where you specify your goal, and then you work backwards from your goal to write down the steps necessary to reach the goal. Okay, this is a very important concept that a lot of people don't understand, surprisingly. I can't tell you how many business operations I've seen and I've come in and consulted for where, people don't know how to make a plan. They don't have any goals in mind. They just sort of discuss what they're going to be doing in the next few days, but there's no overarching goal or any thing you're trying to accomplish other than just put out fires. Okay, so if you're trying to actually make a plan, okay, that's when you would use a SWOT analysis, okay? When you're walking into a situation and you're trying to figure, okay, what could we do here that's going to result in success, okay? In order to make sure that you are starting to look at the right things, you start off with a SWOT analysis, okay? So let's go through this. So number one, strengths, okay? What is it that you're doing well, okay? That could be a competitive advantage for you. Those would be strengths, okay? Weaknesses, what is it that you're doing that you're not very good at, or it could be a liability for you, okay? Those are your weaknesses. Now, the reason why you're looking at both of these is obviously because in the case of strengths, these are things that you're going to try and exploit, okay? You're going to try and use these to your advantage to get further ahead. Weaknesses, on the other hand, are things you're going to try and compensate for, okay? These are things that either you're not doing very well or you are at a strategic disadvantage as opposed to your competitors, okay? So they're things that you would want to try and minimize the risk with your weaknesses, okay? So those are the first two things you're going to be looking at. The second two things are, like I said earlier, you're going to be looking outside of your organization and seeing how your organization fits into the larger environment. Usually, this is sort of applied in terms of marketing or supply chain or regulation, okay? So opportunities. What are the opportunities for you? And as I said, this is external. So these could include trends and things like that, or shifts in the business, whether it's to do with the industry, all the other suppliers, or it's to do with the market, all the other potential customers or clients, okay? What's going on in the environment that could be something that could work out well for you, okay? Those are opportunities. And threats. Threats, as suggested by its name, is something else that you're looking at externally, okay? So what's happening in the larger environment that could be bad for you? Okay, this could be the rest of the industry, right? The suppliers or producers, like your competitors, are doing something new. They're getting into a new area, or they're releasing a new product. Is that a threat to you? Secondly, it could be in the form of the market. Okay, maybe people's tastes have changed. Maybe their wants and needs are evolving. Maybe there's changes to the size of the market. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so are these going to be things that are coming in and they could be a problem for you? Okay, in which case, you would try to exploit the opportunities and you would try to minimize the attack surface posed by the threats. Okay, so that's the idea. Now, here's the thing. People are talking about SWOT analysis, and they're talking about it almost as if it's a self-contained unit. Now, although we've kind of just given an overview of it, the problem is that from this point on, this tool does not give you any specific advice, as it were, as to how to manage your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, or threats, okay? It gets you thinking of these. It gets you looking within your organization. It gets you looking without your organization into the larger environment. But beyond this point, it doesn't give you any specific help on how to exploit these strengths or opportunities, or how to minimize the effect of potential weaknesses and threats. So this is really the beginning of a discussion on strategy. Now, it's a tool like any other. But it's almost like having, if you were to try and visualize having a toolbox of all the tools you would need to be able to do something, SWOT analysis would not be the hammer. You know what I'm saying? SWOT analysis would be like a pen. It would be something that you use at the very beginning, but beyond that first step, you don't really need it. It can't really help you beyond that. Now, this is potentially one reason why there are a lot of business people out there, people that have been successful in business, like the example I gave at the beginning of the episode, that have never heard of this because they've never needed it. It's sort of the very beginning of a discussion on strategy. And equally, when a lot of people are talking about this on social networking, like I've noticed on LinkedIn, there are lots of articles on SWOT analysis. the problem I have with it is that they sort of end with the SWOT analysis. I mean, it's great as a sort of thing that you would spend 15 minutes on at the very beginning of a discussion. But beyond that, the real discussion would then take place. And that's going to require much more advanced strategic tools. Okay, it's going to require knowing a lot of strategic concepts and the wisdom and the experience to know which concept should be applied to which type of situation. So that would be a much more involved and in-depth discussion on strategy. You can't really end anything with SWOT analysis. So that's my take on it. It is useful up to a point, but it is certainly not something where once you know this, then that's all you need to know. It's not like that at all. And that's sometimes how it's framed. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. Thank you very much for your attention. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Business Growth and Entrepreneur Podcast. Take care.